I do not know what price I shall have to pay for breaking what we alchemists call silentium.
Welcome back to the Wacky World Drive-In. I'm your host, Rob, seventh son of a motherless goat, and with me is my lovely co-host, Dick Vincent.
Yeah, we're back after an absence, but we're back, and this is kind of a long time coming, but hey, we're back.
Man, how long has it been? Do you
It's, I forgot to check, but it's been a while. I know you've been busy with a whole bunch of stuff, so it is good to be back, and we've got some good stuff coming up.
Yeah, it's funny. When the last one we did was the first episode of season 2, if you remember, and we said that it wouldn't be super often, but we would be doing season 2 episodes semi-regularly. Yeah, we didn't.
Well, it's semi-regular. It depends what your definition of semi-regular is.
Yeah, I mean, 2 years between an episode, that's all right.
Yeah, it helps build up that anticipation too.
I know, right? Well, before we get started on the shenanigans for today, what have you been into lately? Like, fill everybody in on the goings on of Mr. Vincent in the last recent times.
Nothing too out of the ordinary, I guess. Just trying to keep up with my pod, the Oak Drive-In, and still trying to collect movies and stuff and new music coming out. Though it's really getting hard with the DVDs because there is so much stuff coming out now that I find it extremely hard to keep up with the new releases.
That's great though, because you've had the naysayers for years now saying that, oh, physical media is dead, blah 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 blah. It's great that so much stuff is coming out and proving that collectors will still buy physical media.
Oh, I'm not complaining at all. I think it's great that there's so much stuff coming out. And I think for the type of movies that we watch, that kind of niche horror, niche exploitation, there is a market for it. You're not going to sell a bunch of copies that people will definitely buy. And I think it's great what's coming out. I mean, just the other day, Severin announced that gigantic Al Adamson box that just has everything in the world in it.
Oh, what's some of the stuff on it?
A bunch of biker stuff, Hell's Bloody Angels, Satan's Sadist, some of his horror stuff, some of his just kind of exploitation stuff. I think there's 30 films altogether, I want to say.
And something I like about Severin is they managed to, unlike the Shout Factory slash Scream Factory, their prices stay pretty decent by and large. Whereas sometimes the Shout Factory or the Scream Factory ones can get pretty pricey with their sets.
Yeah, I am not sure what the whole dynamics of the financials are, but I know Shout Factory does do a lot of extras and stuff. Not that Severin doesn't. And but I think it's just neat. There's so many different companies out there doing this stuff.
Oh, off topic, but something I wanted to mention that I meant to mention at the top of the show. So, folks, I don't know if you noticed, but the podcast is now on my YouTube, which is the Wacky World Lounge, which I also am doing a little show kind of thing as well. I recently had to take out the H out of everything because for some reason YouTube shows wacky with an H as a typo and it doesn't show up in any searches and stuff. So all the channel and all that kind of stuff, I had to DH everything. But because the Wacky World Drive-In's been around for so long and I wanted to keep it as it is, the H will remain.
Yeah, it's weird. The spelling police are really active on YouTube, but I just want to give extra shout out and tell everyone to check out Rob's stuff he's got posted up on his YouTube channel. Some really fun and cool stuff on there.
I appreciate that. I'm trying. I'm trying. And I actually have a new episode after a long hiatus on that as well going up tonight. So,
Oh, cool, cool.
alrighty. Now, back to the pod and let's see. Tell you what, not necessarily something I've been up to lately, but something I've been into lately. And this may sound kind of odd, but I've been super into bowling culture.
Oh, really? Like the bowling shirts and
Yeah,
everything?
like bowling shirts, bowling shoes, bowling alleys, movies about bowling. I just love everything bowling. But the kicker and the funny thing is, I've never actually bowled.
Where I used to live, in Cary, there was it was a real old school bowling alley just down the street from me. And I used to walk down there just to hang out, not to bowl, just to go there and hang out because they had a full bar in the bowling alley. And it looked like they hadn't done any decorating past like 1965.
Oh, that sounds great.
So it was really cool. I used to just go down there and sit and watch people and have a couple drinks.
Wow, that's funny. I kind of did that recently. I just went to a nearby bowling alley and just walked around, looked at stuff. I think I enjoy the culture from an outside perspective, just kind of outside looking in.
And I think it's one of those sports that really never goes away. It's kind of always popular and it never seems to kind of have its ups and downs.
And I have never ever cared for sports, but again, I like bowling, and I like bowling movies. Big Lebowski, Kingpin, just great stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Bowling's always good. And I remember when I was a kid, bowling it used to show up like on the Wide World of Sports.
Mm.
You would walk in, like tune in Saturday afternoon, and they would be doing national broadcasts of bowling championships.
Oh man, I would love to see like an episode of that from say like the '60s.
Yeah, everybody's smoking.
Yeah, hard to see the bowling alley through the smoke.
Yeah.
That is funny. All right, so I guess the topic today, or one of topics, we'll see where things go. But I'd like to begin with we're going to talk about giallo because there's always room for giallo. I don't know if that joke's been done a bazillion times before, but I'm doing it anyway.
Yeah, this is one we've been talking about for a while, I know too. So this is going to be fun.
Okay, so first and foremost, I've been having I'm not even calling it a debate because it's been just way too friendly for that. A friendly discussion with my good buddy, Jay Super Awesome, who was a super awesome YouTuber, if anyone wants to check out his channel, about giallo versus slashers. Jay is under the opinion that if it looks like a duck, if it quacks like a duck, if it slashes people up like a duck, it's a duck. But see, to me, I do not consider giallo slashers. I think they're different. What do you think?
I think they are different, but there is definitely elements of both genres in kind of both genres. Mm-hmm. But I do think there is I have a definite idea what a giallo is, and I have a definite idea what a slasher is. To me, a giallo, it has the murder in it, but it's more about this sense of ambiguity. And part of the great thing to me about watching giallos is the better ones is you never really know what's going on. Yeah. And I don't mean that in a bad thing. I mean that in a good thing. Whereupon a slasher, to me, kind of sets up these tropes that you expect. Like, here's the killer, here's his backstory, this is what he does, and this is why I want to watch it, because he's going to go kill 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people.
And see, that's why I say it's not even a debate, because it's really just opinion. It's really how you view the subject matter. Jack, his viewpoint is just as valid as my own. I'm just, discussing how I personally see it.
Yeah, and that's part of the fun of movie discussions. Like, no one's ever wrong. Mm-hmm. It's just that this is what you think and this is what the other person thinks. But I think there's movies too, like especially the Brian De Palma stuff, like maybe Dressed to Kill and Sisters, that definitely kind of feed off both genres, I think.
Yeah. I think a lot of it too for me is kind of intent. Whereas you take your base level slasher, and of course there's more creative slashers, your supernatural slashers, your Freddy's, stuff like that. But I just mean your base kind of, like I saw one semi recently called The Prowler, where it was just kind of your base level, what you think of as the generic slasher, so to speak. And I think intent is important. Whereas I see slashers were kind of made to titillate and shock teenagers. I see giallo as a much more, how do I put it, almost sophisticated genre, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. They were sophisticated, but at the same time, they were a lot of them were catering. I don't want to say catering, but maybe they were kind of going for that exploitation crowd, but maybe in a different way. Because, the giallo, the word itself comes from yellow, which comes from these yellow kind of lurid paperbacks that they sold in Italy that were real popular post World War II after the fascists fell. So there is always kind of that, I don't want to say seediness in giallo, but there is always a bit of the kind of sordid atmosphere to some of them, which I think helps a lot.
That's true. And I always see giallo at their heart, they're a mystery film, whereas the blood and guts are just kind of an accoutrement, like an added bonus. Whereas I think with slashers, the heart of them is the blood and guts, and the mystery is the added bonus.
Yeah, that's what when I was, going to see movies in the 80s and 70s, when you went to see a slasher, you wanted to go see the Tom Savini special effects. That's what you were going for.
Yeah.
Which, if I remember rightly, The Prowler has some pretty good ones.
I don't think I made it all the way through. It's just, I'm not really a big fan of slashers, and it just really wasn't my cup of tea.
Yeah, I like slashers when they try and do something different. Like, I really enjoy the one by Jeff Lieberman that takes place up in the woods, just before dawn.
I haven't seen that one.
I think that's a really good one. Then I kind of like the one with Jamie Lee Curtis.
Talking about Terror Train?
No. Just give me a second. I'll come up with it. Prom Night.
Oh, Prom Night, of course, yeah.
Yeah, because I think that one actually, going back a little bit on our conversation, I think that one has a bit of a giallo feel to it.
Okay.
The killer isn't revealed straight off, and it does have this kind of mystery going through it, and I do kind of enjoy that one.
I can't honestly say I've seen it. Like I said, I've never really gone out of my way to see slashers. I've seen the second one, oddly enough, but I don't know if I've ever seen that first one.
Oh, Hello, Mary Lou, Prom Night 2.
Yeah, that one I've seen.
Which is actually a really good movie.
I tend to, if I'm going to enjoy a slasher, it needs to be stylized or it needs to be really sleazy. Like if you throw a bunch of sleaze into a slasher movie, that'll get my attention.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Sleaze always helps anything.
Yes, most anything. Yeah, I may be thinking of the wrong movie, Prowler. That's the one that takes place in the 50s, or the beginnings, the setups in the 50s or the 40s or something, right? What's that one? What's that one about?
Several of them do that. I know My Bloody Valentine does that too. See, it's been years since I've seen The Prowler too.
The one I'm thinking of starts in either the 40s or takes place a long time ago, and then it picks back up semi more recently. And if I remember right, the guy's in like all black and some kind of black mask.
That is The Prowler, yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's the one.
Okay, yeah. Like you said, I don't watch a bunch of slashers anymore. But back when I was going to the movies in the 70s and 80s, I was all about some slashers.
Well, to be fair, I have a much higher opinion of 70s and 80s slashers. It's really the only place I turn my nose up and become Mr. Snob about is 90s slashers.
Oh, yeah. Well, I guess by that time, it was just kind of the same old thing they were running into the ground. Because if you're going to make a slasher, I mean, how much different stuff can you do?
And they got so watered down in the 90s. All the sleaze and that kind of stuff that really made them worth watching was gone.
Yeah, that's true, I guess. Yeah, that's true. I think one of the more interesting things that went with the slashers in the 90s, and this maybe ties into the giallo stuff too, is all that stuff that used to show up on Cinemax and Showtime on Saturday nights.
Mm-hmm.
There's all those kind of weird erotic thrillers.
See, I wouldn't think of those as slashers, but yeah, I remember those.
Some of them did have some slasher elements to them, and they had some giallo. I mean, a lot of them, like, I'm not going to sit here and argue all day long that those Shannon Tweed movies are great pieces of cinema, but there's some interesting stuff that's floating around in there.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely like a lot of that stuff. I guess, again, just the kind of our perceptions of what actually equals a slasher. I never would have crossed my mind to consider those. But yeah, I do like those.
Yeah. And that's I have a friend that's really collects those. And that's something that has just been totally ignored by the DVD market.
Yeah, like I really like the Strip to Kill series, if you're familiar with those.
Yes, yes. The first one I really enjoy with Kay Lenz.
Yeah, well, yeah, that one's great. Yeah, so, yeah, see, I just never would have considered that a slasher. That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah, and it's interesting too that Sergio Martino, who did kind of a lot of the classic Italian giallos in the 70s, he actually did a couple movies where he updated more of the erotic content, and I remember them showing up on Cinemax in the 90s.
Okay.
There's one called, I think, Smile of the Fox, and they're kind of giallos, but they have a lot more kind of the Skinamax stuff going on in them. But yeah,
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I'd like to see that.
yeah, yeah, all sorts of different rabbit holes you can end up going down.
So back to say traditional giallo. What are some of your favorites?
I really enjoy Deep Red.
Yeah.
That's always right up near the top. There's another one called Forbidden Photos of a Lady Above Suspicion
Oh, I don't know that one.
that I really enjoy. It has this actress in it, Dagmar Lysander, that I think is really, really good. She shows up in a couple of the Fulci Gothics, like House by the Cemetery, but I really enjoy her.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one too.
Then there's I really like the ones that Umberto Lenzi did with Carol Baker. There's kind of like the Jet Set Gallows, but there's one, So Sweet, So Perverse, that has her and Erica Blanc in it that's really good. And there's the Fifth Chord. And of course, going back to the beginnings, Blood and Black Lace with Mario Bava is a great one. And that's kind of like one of the real early shallows from like 1960s.
Tell you, I saw one recently-ish now that I really was impressed with that I'd never seen before. Cat o' Nine Tails.
Yes, that is a good one. That a lot of times is kind of it's dumped down in the bottom of the Argento list,
I
but
don't know why. Yeah.
yeah, that's an interesting one, and so is the one with John Saxon, where he's the writer, Tenebrae.
That's actually my favorite Argento movie.
Yes, that one is really good too, and I actually also enjoy. I don't know if you really consider it a giallo, but I enjoy opera a lot too.
Yeah, yeah. I think I would. I think I would, and that is a very good one. I was real surprised too with Cat o' Nine Tails. The acting was so good, especially the blind guy, the blind toy maker or puzzle maker. I forget his name, but he was just, I was really impressed with his performance.
Is that Carl Malden?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, Carl Malden and James Franciscus, I think, was the other person in that.
And the little girl in that one, like she wasn't intentionally creepy, but to me, I just found her so creepy, but it just worked. I don't know. There was just a great little creepy vibe to her. I really enjoyed her creepy little performance.
Italians can do creepy kids really good.
Yeah, yeah, they can.
But yeah, so what are some of your other favorites?
Uh, I don't know. Would you count Delirium?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I saw that recently and was very impressed with that one. I mean, just the opening title screen with the photo shoot layout. I was like, yeah, this is going to be a me movie right here.
Yeah, is that the one with the models, right?
Yes.
Yes,
And the
yes.
weird eyeball head.
Yes, that is the one image that you never ever forget. In fact, I have the Blu-ray, and that's right on the front of the Blu-ray.
Something that we didn't have really, or at least I certainly didn't have the last time we did the pod, was these new upstart kind of streaming services, even though Amazon Prime is hardly an upstart, but there's so much obscure, great stuff on Amazon Prime that I've just never had any exposure to that I've been just digging into and watching and getting to see all this stuff like Delirium, like Cat of Nine Tails.
Yeah, Amazon Prime is really amazing. It's kind of used to be that Netflix was kind of the rabbit hole you could go down and spend hours exploring obscure horror stuff on, but that's pretty much dried up. And Amazon Prime is really, once you go clicking around in there, it's amazing the stuff you find.
hmm Yeah, I
I
mean,
mean,
stuff I've always wanted to see, but just never been able to.
yeah, yeah. And speaking, kind of along with giallo, there's all kinds of just weird, obscure 70s like biker movies on there and all sorts of cool stuff.
It's funny. I said this on one of the last pods we did that I've been wanting to dig into the biker movie genre more, and I still haven't yet, but I still plan on it.
Oh yeah, well be sure to let us know when you do that, and we can definitely do a biker episode.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah.
I could talk about William Smith for an hour easy.
Okay. And I'll tell you another one. Even though they have commercials, it's free, but they do have limited commercials, and that's Tubi. Are you?
I was trying to remember what the name of that one was, and that is another good one.
Oh man, so much like they have a whole full moon channel. So I've just been watching full moon movies like crazy.
Yeah, and I know that Shout Factory has a free one too that I can get on my Roku called Shout Factory TV, where they put a lot of their movies up for free. They're only up for a short period of time, but it's a totally free service.
I think Tubi has the Shout Factory channel as well.
Ah, okay, okay.
I like the Shout Factory stuff too because they've been doing a lot of the tokusatsu like Super Sentai stuff they've been putting up.
Oh, really? Cool, cool.
Hmm.
Yeah, I know I bought a bunch of those when they first came out, and now I guess they're coming back out again. But that's something that I really got into the past few years is that stuff.
Oh, okay, interesting. Anything like a standout for you?
Um, I love the um, Ultra Q.
Oh, true. Okay, I got that on the box set of that recently. Haven't watched it yet
Yeah,
though.
that's really cool. I mean, because each one of those is like a little, like miniature, movie. It's kind of like an X-Files thing. These people go out and investigate mysterious goings on. There's always some really kind of cool, goofy monster involved.
That one doesn't have like giant growing robots and that kind of thing, right? Or does it?
No, it's more of kind of like Godzilla monsters on kind of like a bad acid trip.
Oh, well that's a good sell right there.
Yeah, and I enjoyed the Johnny Sacco too,
I haven't seen that one
and this
yet.
giant flying robot.
Yeah, I love the look of it.
Yeah, I just remember I have some vague memories of seeing the Americanized versions of those on TV at some points, but you watch them now and you just realize how a lot of them are just really strange and bizarre.
Hmm.
But
Well,
yeah, it's
back
good stuff.
well back then they did that weird thing where they would not only localize stuff, they would completely rewrite it in some cases, like write their own scripts to what's going on rather than just translating what actually happened.
Yeah, 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 yep. And I know too, I believe it's Mill Creek is bringing all that stuff out on Blu-ray too.
Oh, nice, nice. Yeah, I have to say with the tokusatsu, and then we'll go back to giallo, but my all-time favorite would actually be the Super Inframan. I'm sure anyone that listens to anything I do know that I rave about that movie all the time, but I am just a mega fan of that one. I think that's just the finest the genre has to offer.
Oh yeah, I just picked that up a while ago on 88 Films in England brought it out on Blu-ray.
Oh, I need to get that. I mean, I
It
have the
looks,
DVD.
yeah, it looks gorgeous. That the colors in that movie are just like they're almost hallucinogenic.
Hmm. Now that I think about it, I think we actually have talked about that on this pod before.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe this is an idea for another episode coming up. Then we could do a
Yeah.
Sentai.
Oh yeah, there you go. Okay, right. Taking it back to the giallo. What are some others that really stand out for you?
I really enjoy one called The Fifth Chord,
Hmm.
which is it's one of those ones. This is kind of what we touched on briefly earlier. That it's one of those ones where you watch and you defy anyone to figure out what the plot is in this movie. But it is just so cool looking. It's like just the ultimate kind of 70s decor with all the, furnishings, and it's just I just love that movie. And it's also there's the Fulci one, Lizard in a Woman's Skin.
I've always heard of that one. I haven't seen it yet though.
That's really good. It's really kind of dreamlike, but it's if you go in and expecting a Fulci film, you're going to be disappointed. But he did some really good giallos.
Yeah. You had mentioned Deep Red earlier. I was fortunate enough to actually get to see that on the big screen at the New Beverly in Hollywood bunch of years back.
Oh wow, yeah, yeah. They do run some great stuff there.
Yeah.
I subscribe to their updates and I look at that and go, oh man.
That's one regret I do have about Hollywood is that I didn't take advantage of the New Beverly more often.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Well,
It's
maybe
just
you'll.
they oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, yeah, that's what happens. You don't appreciate things till you move. But
Mm.
that's what's happened to me before.
Well, they didn't have parking is the problem. And so I just never wanted to deal with searching for some street parking spot.
Yeah, and they run everything on 35 millimeter, correct?
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
when we were watching Deep Red, it actually, I guess the film broke, and we had to wait for a minute for them to fix it.
Oh, cool. Yeah, that's always neat, though.
Yeah, yeah, it's part of the experience, I think, part of that theater experience, that old school movie theater.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. And I remember too. Back again talking about, because I'm an old guy that I used to go see the movies in the 70s. I would go see. I would be watching giallos, but I didn't really realize what I was watching till later, because I remember seeing a movie, I believe it was titled Asylum Erotica when I saw it, but then it's also gone by Cold Blooded Beasts and Slaughter Hotel.
Oh, Slaughter
Uh,
Hotel, okay, yeah.
yeah, and then you would see these things, then you would go, man, this is really weird. But then there was absolutely no way of researching things back then.
No. Yeah, that was one of the things back then is a horror movie was a horror movie. We didn't really have all these different subgenres and things like that to kind of categorize things as.
Yeah, I mean, you'd go see, double or triple feature and have, like a straight up horror movie, but then stuck on the third feature would be something like, Asylum Erotica. And
Mm.
I remember seeing one of the Sergio Martino ones with Edwige Finch. I think it was probably Strange Vice and Mrs. Ward, and it was titled like Next or something like that.
Yeah, that's another thing I run across these films that have like 3 to 4 different titles depending.
Yeah, and then you got into the whole thing when video broke out in the 80s and they all started coming out in video boxes with even different titles, and you'd pick something up and you'd watch it. And like mentioned before, there was really no way of researching this stuff back then. You would just watch it and think, boy, that was really weird.
Hmm. Hmm. Why we've talked about before the beauty and how much it opened up our worldviews. The Immortal Tales book.
Yes, that and like Video Watchdog and stuff. I remember going to the Chiller conventions in the 90s, and it was kind of like this whole world opened up for you because people started putting out fanzines, and you go there and like, Barbara Boucher would be there. It's like, wow, I can.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I remember a buddy in the 90s bought Della Morte dell'Amore from a bootleg booth before it was out here in the States. Um, and I've just always loved that movie.
Yeah, that's a really good movie. It's one of those ones where I show to people sometimes and they come away saying, "Oh, that was interesting." But I just love that movie. And I remember um, a while ago somewhere they were doing a poll of the greatest sex scene ever in a horror film, and that won an
Mhm.
excuse me, unequivocal number one.
Yeah, that's just all around great. And that's one that's not on Blu-ray, is it?
I don't think so, at least not over here.
Yeah, because I missed out on the DVD. Like I had it on my list, I kept meaning to buy it, and I kept meaning to buy it, and then bam, overnight, like $70.
Yeah, I'm thinking that's one of those that there must be something kind of messed up with the rights or something, because it seems like someone would have jumped over that one. Yes.
And that's another one. Talk about different titles. I prefer Della Morte dell'Amore. I think that is the coolest title as opposed to Cemetery Man. I mean, Cemetery Man's not a bad title, but I just like the Della Morte dell'Amore much better.
Yeah, Cemetery Man just sounds kind of generic.
Yeah, it makes it sound like something it's not, I think.
Yeah, and what's cool too for me about Della Morte Della More was I remember when I saw it in the theater. One of the little art houses around here ran it when it first came out, and I was so psyched because I was thinking I finally get to see an Italian horror movie on its first run in the theater.
Oh, was it English or was it subtitled?
I think when I saw it, it was dubbed.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, I do enjoy that movie though. I haven't seen that in a while. I need to see if I can find a copy of that around because I had the Laserdisc at one point.
That's something maybe you can answer, you being an aficionado of this sort of thing. In cases where you have like an Italian production, where the whole cast is Italian, but then you say the star will be American and they're speaking English, like how does that work? Like over there, do they dub the English speaker into Italian? Or when they bring it over here, do they dub? I mean, how does that work exactly?
It depends. Sometimes the actors do their own dubbing, but the way they shoot films a lot of times in Italy is like everyone just speaks their own language.
Right, that's what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like if they have a German actor in there, he speaks German, the Americans spoke American. And that's one of the things I remember. I think that one of the may have been Lee Van Cleef or somebody talked about when he first went over there to do those spaghetti westerns was that it was just this kind of everyone talking different languages and it was really confusing. In fact, that's one of the plot points in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Okay.
I think they refer to it as a Tower of Babel style of shooting a movie.
So then when they would show the movie in Italy, would they dub over the American, say, actor in Italian? Or would
Yeah,
they just have him in English and subtitle it?
No, they usually just dubbed everything.
Okay.
In fact, there was a whole little industry over in Rome where they made the movies of people dubbing films. There was Americans that lived over there for years, and that's how they made their living was dubbing films for American. And then they had the same, for Italian and so on and so on and so on.
Okay. Wow, interesting.
Yeah, that's why people, whenever an Italian movie comes out, people say, "Oh, you got to see the original Italian language with the subtitles." A lot of times there really is no original Italian language because
that is a good
done.
point.
Yeah.
And remember, there were several of the kaiju or daikaiju movies with Nick Adams.
Yes.
And I forget which one. I think was it Ghidorah, the first Ghidorah one?
Yeah, he did Ghidorah, the three-headed monster. Yeah, and then he did Frankenstein Conquers the World.
There you go.
Yes.
And he was speaking English. He didn't go over there like doing his lines in Japanese or anything.
No, I don't think Nick Adams was that committed to those roles.
He's good in them though.
Yeah, I do enjoy those.
Yeah.
Did we ever do an episode on those?
We have not. That'd be good.
Man, we got a big list going already.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do. Well, it's so easy to just for the two of us to ramble on and on about this stuff.
Yeah. But let's maybe get back to giallo a little bit. So do you remember kind of what the first giallo movie you saw was?
I'd say the first actual, just strictly, this is giallo, would probably be Tenebrae.
Oh, cool. That's a good one to start off with. You're setting the bar high there.
Yeah, and it's still my favorite. So
Yeah, the part with the lady painting the walls with their severed arm is got to be classic.
And that one's good because it keeps you guessing. That movie was not predictable in the slightest. You did not know who the killer was going to be until the very end. I don't want to say in case anyone hasn't seen it, but it's not predictable.
It's not, no. And I think that's the one that originally came out, I think, is Unsane in America.
Oh, okay.
Unsane. If I remember rightly. That may have been how I first saw it on videotape.
That's another thing about opera is that one's pretty unpredictable as well. Like I often too forget, and it's like a surprise each time who the killer ends up to be.
Yeah. I really enjoy that one. It's weird because I remember when it first came out, a lot of people kind of poo-pooed it and derided. No, this is like minor Argento, but sadly, kind of with Dario Argento, he's keeps setting the bar lower and lower and lower. So, but I think that's a really good movie. I like that one, and I like the one with his daughter about the paintings, the Stendhal syndrome.
Right. Yeah, I've learned with Argento that I never anymore judge his movies the first time I've seen them. I always have to give them a second view because the perspective changes. I don't know. Like I didn't enjoy Inferno the first time I saw it at all. But then by the second time I was like, what the heck? Why did I not enjoy this? This is amazing.
I love Inferno. Inferno to me is the perfect movie to watch like at 1 o'clock in the morning.
Just how effective that movie is. The scene where the guy goes into the vent, like the crawl spacey thing. That should be a boring scene. I mean, it's him in a crawl space, but that intense music with the lighting. I mean, that is the most intense freaking in a crawl space scene you will ever see.
Yes, yes, that is probably one of his. I think it's probably for me his most beautiful looking movie. Just the lighting and the sets, like when she swims into that underground room and everything. It's an amazing movie.
Well, that's what I think of. That is the definition of the Argento style. That red and violet kind of lighting to really highlight everything.
Yeah, yeah, yep. Yeah, that's kind of like, Suspiria is kind of like his apex for that, but I think Inferno is his best use of that.
Right. Yeah, that's a very good way to put it.
Yeah. Did you see the new Suspiria, by the way?
No. Mm-mm.
Yeah, a little too much interpretive dancing for me.
Oh yeah. I that's one. I mean, I'm not one that's opposed to remakes. I think there are some great remakes, but that's one that I was kind of like that really didn't need to be remade. But then when I heard that the score was done by that guy from Radiohead, that was it for me. I was like, no, I'm not watching this.
Yeah, the score was weird and it was really, really long, if I remember rightly, too.
Yeah, yeah,
But
definitely passing on that one.
okay, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, besides interpretive dance, would you say that it was decent?
It was decent, yeah. I think it definitely tried to stake out its own territory, which was good because, well, like you just mentioned, you're thinking, why would anyone even want to go here? But I think it did try to do something different, and I just, you know, it's just it would had to be so great for me to like it just because I'm such a fan of the original.
Well, with remakes, it's often they are so different that they're only a remake in title. So it's almost kind of like a cheap cash grab. It's like they're so different, just make it a different movie.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Yeah, yeah. Because, if you try to make it exactly like it, why bother? But
Mm.
yeah,
But
yeah.
then there's some that are just so far out left field. Like, even though it's one I enjoy, the Dawn of the Dead remake. I mean, it is such a different movie. It didn't need to be called Dawn of the Dead. It could have stood on its own as something completely different.
That's true. I guess the only thing that has in common is the shopping mall.
And that's it. I'd say that's the only similarity.
Yeah, the one thing I really did like about the remake, I mean, the one thing I always thought was cool about the original was how he just showed the whole breakdown of civilization by just that newsroom, by what
Yeah.
was going on there. But I thought the new one did a really good a job of showing just kind of the breakdown of civilized living on the just that first whole beginning thing. I thought did a really good idea of the apocalypse.
Yeah, I like that one. And Dawn of the Dead 78 is my favorite movie of all time. So the fact that I enjoy the remake so much is a testament to how good it is.
Oh, yeah, yeah. That is a high compliment for you because I know that is your favorite movie.
And heck, man, I think the Night of the Living Dead 90 is fantastic. I'm a big fan of that one.
Oh, the Tom Savino one?
Yeah.
I do enjoy that one. Now, that's to me is how you do a remake.
Yeah.
Because he took the basic kind of heart of the story, but he made it his own.
Yeah, and I mean, Tony Todd, Patricia Tallman, I mean, just a great cast, really well done.
Yeah, I was trying to think of her name, but I that is her, and I thought she was excellent in that movie.
Speaking of a movie I saw for the first time recently on as well on Amazon Prime, and a movie that really surprised me of how good and serious and well done it was, Night Riders.
Oh, yeah. I haven't seen that one in years. That's one of those Romero ones that just is kind of everyone's forgotten about, I think.
Like I when I heard the premise basically of the medieval kind of I mean, LARPers or performance troupe. I don't know what you'd call them exactly. Reenactors, medieval reenactors jousting on motorcycles. I thought it was going to be kind of hokey, but it's not. I mean, it's a good, dramatic kind of, I don't want to say coming of age, like slice of life, maybe kind of movie.
Yeah, Tom Savini is really good in that.
Yeah, he is.
A lot of times he just kind of shows up for his little cameos and walks in and does his thing, but he is really good in that movie, and so is Ed Harris.
Oh yeah, and that's another thing. I mean, Ed Harris, that's a pretty big star. I mean, it's weird that that movie's been kind of forgotten, kind of glanced over because it is a good one.
Yeah, and I guess that, maybe because it's not one of his, horror or zombie trope ones, but that one is definitely ripe for some rediscovery.
And the reason I brought it up is because if you remember, Patricia Tallman is in that.
Oh, that's right, she is.
Yeah, an early performance from her.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. See, now you got me going to want to watch that again. You said that was on Amazon Prime?
It was as of a month ago.
Cool. I'll have to go check that out.
Yeah, I always liked her in Night of Living Dead 90, even though she weirdly always reminded me of the kid from Dick Tracy. I guess because of the haircut.
Oh.
But I became a much bigger fan watching Babylon 5.
Ah.
Have you ever seen that?
I haven't, no. I never have really delved into the whole Star Trek universe. That is Star Trek.
Well, it's not Star Trek. It's
I'm sorry. See, that's why it's obviously I've never delved into any of this stuff now.
I was blown away by that one because it is so, I guess they call it episodic. Like it is, there are no Freak of the Week episodes. I mean, every episode leads into the next, and the plot begins in the beginning and goes all the way through until the end. The creator, whose name I cannot even come close to pronouncing, looked at it like a book. And there were chapters, and he had a beginning in mind and an ending in mind, and it went through. And it is just very well written, very deep, complicated sci-fi.
Oh, that is interesting. I like when a TV show has a definite ending.
It's one of those things that I think it's a little hampered only visually because there's, again, people started using CGI before they were ready. So there's some really rough CGI. But if you can get past that, the storytelling and the acting is phenomenal.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah,
Cool.
highly recommended.
Okay.
And it's real kind of deep. Well, my favorite Star Trek series of all time is Deep Space Nine, which is the exact same kind of premise, a beginning and an end, not really with the Freak of the Week stuff, much heavier topics. And I think that's why it's kind of the underdog, because it breaks the Star Trek formula severely.
Oh, wasn't that the plan for the original Star Trek? Didn't Gene Roddenberry have kind of like a whole scenario story laid out from beginning to end? Maybe I'm wrong about this, but I thought I read that somewhere.
I'm sure he did. I mean, he really put a lot into things.
But then, like you said, it just turned into the kind of the Freak of the Week thing.
Interesting thing about Deep Space Nine is Roddenberry had this hard, fast rule that there was not allowed inter-conflict amongst the crew unless there was some kind of outside force. But he had died by the time Deep Space Nine was going into production or was starting production. So they no longer felt the need to hold to that rule. And so it started getting into where people, maybe this person doesn't necessarily trust this person, what's this guy up to, sort of like a lot deeper in the plot.
Oh, so that make it a better show or not?
Oh, I agree. I think much better. Like I said, Deep Space Nine's my all-time favorite.
Oh, so you liked it better when they went that direction?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's interesting.
Like I'd say, if you were to ever watch a Star Trek series, that's the one you should watch.
Oh, okay. Good.
And it's interesting too, because with that one, the first 7 or 8, maybe even like 9 to 11 episodes are just very fair. Like I was like, I don't think this one's going to be for me. But then 12th episode on, it just hits the ground running, and I couldn't stop.
Oh, good. Like, yeah. How many seasons is it?
That's a good question. Between 5 and 7, I want to say.
Oh, that's definitely doable.
And that one has a lot of great genre people. Tony Todd's on it. Jeffrey Combs is a fantastic character on that one.
Oh, really? It has Jeffrey Combs.
It does. It's funny. People always associate Jeffrey Combs with his horror stuff, Reanimator and such. But I actually think he's a very underrated sci-fi actor as well, because he's actually been at least three different characters on Star Trek, and memorable characters too.
Really? In different series?
Yeah, he played two different characters on Deep Space Nine alone.
Wow, that's interesting. I never knew any of this.
Yeah, he was a Ferengi. If you're, I don't know how familiar you are with the races at all, but they're the kind of, they have the muty looking heads with the big ears and the snaggly sharp teeth.
Yes, I've seen pictures of him, of those, yeah.
Yeah, he was Ferengi, and then he was one of the big bad, like one of the big villains toward the end of. I mean, we're talking substantial recurring roles too.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, yeah. I'm always really happy to hear that what some of my favorite actors are doing stuff like that. They can really branch out. He does that one man Edgar Allan Poe tour. I'd like to see sometime.
Yeah, I've heard good things. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. He's pretty cool. Also, I've heard from people that have met him at shows that he's really a super nice guy.
He also on Star Trek Enterprise, which was the prequel, which is universally panned for some reason, but I thought it was very good with Scott Bakula. He played an Orion, which, or was it Orion? Maybe I'm getting, no, not Orion. I'm embarrassed. I don't know this. The blue skinned race with the white hair and the little antennas on their head.
I know who you're talking about, but I do not know their names.
Oh man, what are they called? Well, either way, he played one of them, and he was excellent. Great character, funny, just probably the best character on the show, in my opinion.
Oh, neat. Again, I never saw that show. I remember seeing pictures of it, and I really liked the design of like the ship, how it was kind of that Star Trek stuff, but was kind of like old-fashioned Star Trek stuff.
Yeah, there's this great episode where they time travel and they go into the future to the original Star Trek series. And they're on the original Starship Enterprise, and they're just amazed at how the technical marvel that it is and everything.
Oh, neat, neat. So when did that one take place? Do you recall?
That's early in the Federation when the other races first kind of started contacting the humans and were letting them play in the big boy field.
Oh, okay. Man, this is great. I feel like I'm getting a whole Star Trek education here, Rob.
Well, good. I'm glad I could help. Yeah, I'm actually on my phone trying to look up the name of that alien race because it's bothering me. No, the Orions were the green slave girls. Andorians, that's it. Just came to me. You playing
Okay.
Andorian. But speaking of past stuff, something else I'd love for you to see is there's an episode, might have even been two, of Deep Space Nine, where they travel back in time to the original series of the Trouble with Tribbles episode, which I'm sure you're familiar with that.
Oh, yeah,
one.
yeah, yep.
But they actually put them into the episode. And they kind of interact, like I guess they use unused footage of them interacting with like William Shatner from back then. And it is so well done.
Oh, wow. It does sound interesting. Man, I've really got to check this stuff out now.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do.
Well, maybe once I do all my research and homework and get caught up, we can do a Star Trek episode sometime.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
It'd be fun because you could be like the old hand and I would be the newbie.
Even though, funnily, I'm not that old a hand. I actually didn't see my very first episode of Star Trek until maybe about 6 years ago.
Oh, okay. Did you start off with the original series?
No, I actually started out with Next Generation.
Oh, okay.
I'd seen the movies, don't get me wrong, and I'm a big fan of the movies, but just for whatever reason, I never watched the show.
Oh, okay. And there's a new movie coming out with what's his name? The captain.
Mhm.
Now I can't remember his name.
Oh, Pike, right? Captain Pike?
No, Stewart. Patrick, isn't there a new Patrick Stewart?
Oh,
Star
yeah,
Trek
yeah.
movie
The
coming?
series. It's a series.
Oh, it's a series. Oh,
series.
okay. Okay.
Right. Yeah, I think that's even started by now. I think they're like 4 or 5 episodes in.
Oh, okay. But there's a new Pike movie?
Or there's something I heard coming out with Pike. Maybe it's a series.
Oh, okay. Okay. Wow. Yeah.
And one more Star Trek thing, and then we'll jump back to something else. Something I found very interesting and a very creative use of footage. The original Star Trek series, In the original pilot, they had a different captain. It wasn't Kirk. It was Captain Pike, played by a different actor.
Yes.
But then, I guess to not waste that footage, they later used a lot of the pilot as flashbacks of Spock's command before he joined up with Kirk.
Yeah, that was, I think the guy's name was Jeffrey Hunter.
Mm-hmm.
Then was that the one where that guy had been disfigured and he was in kind of that little talking box thing?
Yeah, looked like
Yeah.
something out of Buck Rogers or something, kind of.
Yes. Yeah, I remember that was kind of one of the episodes I saw when I was a kid that stuck in my mind.
Yeah, it was good stuff. And I just thought that was so creative, reusing that footage in that way.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Well, I guess, back then the TV shows they had, especially on that show, they had to cut wherever they could.
That's true. You know what I watched yesterday, or day before yesterday, someday, that I'd never seen before, was The Mole People.
Oh, the original one.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's kind of, it's a neat movie, but of all my 50s kind of sci-fi horror big bug movies, that's kind of one of my least favorite ones.
Okay, interesting.
Did you like it?
Yeah, I did. I was really impressed with Alan Napier's performance as a bad guy. I'd always only just known him as Alfred from Batman, but seeing him actually play a bad guy, it was interesting.
Oh, that is in there. Yeah, yeah, I forgot that he was in that. And I always liked John Agar.
Yeah, definitely. And
He
I don't
makes a
want
great
to
hero.
I don't want to spoil the ending for anyone that hasn't seen it, but I was very surprised by that ending. I
Oh.
was not expecting that.
Yeah, no, they does have cool monsters.
I was like, wow, that is a weirdly bad ending for a 50s sci-fi film. Because didn't those usually end like the day is saved?
Oh yeah, the
Kinda,
day is saved and the hero and heroine walk off together in the sunset.
yeah, I guess we probably shouldn't get on 50s horror movies because we're already at 51 minutes and that could be a whole episode in and of itself.
There's another one. We got the whole season right here.
All right. So 10 years from now when we're up to about So I guess any shout outs you want to do?
Well, since we were talking about giallos, I would like to give a shout out to a podcast called Fragments of Fear.
Okay.
They are on Twitter, I know. Rachel Nesbitt is one of the people who does the show, and she does it with a guy who goes by the name of, I believe it's Signor Ward on Twitter, but you can check her, Rachel Nesbitt, her feed. It is an excellent giallo podcast. They think they're in their first season, maybe 5-6 episodes, but they pick one giallo movie, they do a deep dive into it, and it's usually an obscure movie, and they are both really knowledgeable, and it's a great podcast. They're probably up to 4 or 5 by now, I would say.
Yeah, I always admire the folks, especially podcasters, that can pick a central topic and stick to it. We have the hardest time staying on one topic, but
They are extremely well disciplined.
okay. Anybody else?
No, not offhand. I didn't come prepared this week. I'll try and get some more people next time. How about you?
Well, again, I'd like to mention Jay Super Awesome, who not only is just a cool guy with a great YouTube channel, he enjoys the pod. He actually comments on all the episodes that I put up, and real nice supporter of the pod.
Oh, good, good. That's neat. And just to let people know too that I will be getting our page going back up too soon and put some more cool stuff up there. So I'll be getting that fired up again to our Twitter page.
Excellent. Okay, so and that's just J space Super Awesome on YouTube. And then I'd like to point out another supporter, my good buddy Super Aldora from the Kaiju Shorts YouTube channel, which it's a predominantly kaiju toys and model kits and things of nature, but he has started doing movie reviews as well. But he has the most phenomenal kaiju or daikaiju collection you will ever see.
Oh, wow. Man, kaiju toys. If I ever win the lottery, that's right up there on my list.
It's very impressive. Very impressive. Let's see, is there anybody else? Of course, we'll go with some old school supporters. Edward German.
Oh, yeah, yeah. You see, it's good you can pull these people up, Rob. I forgot to do all this.
Yeah, I try to keep track of people that support the pod. And of course, there's good old Ricardo, One Sheep Army, Starship Manifest is still a good supporter of the pod.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah. Need to give a big thumbs up to these people. And hopefully, they'll be excited for this new episode.
Yeah, hopefully I'll have it up soon too. Not sure. My goal, hopefully, today's the 22nd that we're recording this. I hope to have it up next Friday.
Oh, that's a good plan. And
Or no, next Saturday.
oh, okay.
Next sometime next weekend.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, plus for those our listeners that don't know, Rob does all the editing on the shows, and he does a phenomenal job of editing. See,
Oh,
now that
you.
I've set the bar high, I hope not.
It's funny, and I very much appreciate that. But I actually don't think I'm going to edit this one. I think I'm just going to throw it up as is.
Ooh, it's going to be like the director's cut.
I know, yeah. Yeah, well, doing it, recording it just now, it sounds like we're all clear and crisp and not stammering words. But watch, when I go back to listen to it, it's gonna be a lot of stuttering, stammering.
Yeah, and the old editor's going to pop up and say, "Ooh, I can't let this go." But I'd be fine with just throwing this out as is.
Maybe it's just since the show is going to be starting back soon, and I still got a bunch of episodes of that to edit. So I don't know if the editor will quite take over. The editor's kind of tired. All right. Well, that wraps her up. You want to take us out, good buddy?
Yeah, thanks a lot, everyone, for tuning back in. We're excited to do this. And remember, always be afraid of people with dark sunglasses and with big, shiny knives. And, we're always carrying around bottles of J&B Scotch.
Words to live by.
Okay. Well, thank you, everybody.